let's cover, oh, there it is. So salary comparison, given two salary options. We've got option A is $17,000 base plus 12% commission. And this is based on personal sales. And then option B is $20,000 base salary and then a 5% commission based on personal sales. So initially you're going to, if you're given these two options, whenever you're looking at a job, granted, they wouldn't do that. They would just tell you what it is. You would automatically choose option B, right? You would think, okay, $20,000, that's 3,000 more than 17, duh. But at some point, because these are linear equations, at some point they're going to cross. At some point, you're going to have exact same amount of money that you can make from both based on those sales. So we need to find out where they're equal, because every penny over that, option A would be a better option. Okay. So to do that, we need to write the linear functions for each and then set them equal to each other to find out where they're equal. So option A, we'll call it A of X. And I always think of this as, let's think of it as Y equals B plus or minus MX. Okay. The B is the initial base. That's the amount that doesn't change based on your sales. This stays the same. And then you get an extra 12%. Now with the 12%, it's best if you just go ahead now and change it from a percent to a decimal so that whatever number you end up with, it's the right number. So 0.12 X. To change percent to a decimal, you divide by 100. For option B, it has a base of 20,000 with a 5% commission, so 0.05 of all your personal sales. All right, now let's set each of these equal to each other. All right, and solve for X. I'm going to bring the X's over here and the 17,000 over there. Subtracting 17,000 from both sides. Subtracting 0.05X from both sides. On 0.07, yeah, is equal to 3,000. Divide both sides by 0.07. And X is equal to 42,857.14. So option A, you have to write a sentence, is the better option. After sales of, do not forget your dollar sign, $42,857.14. Also, do not round. If you're going to round, it always needs to be to the two decimal places. Well, you do round. You round to the 100th place because that's the smallest currency we have. Right. Now we've got a linear regression. I provide you with the data as well as what the calculator is representing, or Desmos, depends upon which one I use. The U.S. import of wine in hectoliters for several years is given. So the year and the imports of the wine in hectoliters. This is the information I received when I entered the data in my calculator. I entered 1992 as 0. That was the earliest I had to represent the beginning of the data that we had. All right, and then I went from there. It was 0 to 4, like that. What is the line of best fit? And then we'd go from there. The line of best fit, you can just take from here, y equals ax plus b. So for a, instead of y, I'm going to write f of x. A is 154. I'm going to use everything. 154.8699095 plus, no, AX plus B is 3601.514706. All right, there's my answer for A. B, interpret the relationship based on the correlation coefficient. Well, it is closer to 0 than it is to 1 or -1, and it is positive. So it is positive and weak relationship. If it was closer to 1 or -1, it would be a strong relationship, but it's not. It's not even close to 0.5. All right, so that's that one. So you can either have positive and weak, positive and strong, negative and weak, negative and strong. Those are your only 4 I would recommend. Assuming the trend continues, in what year will imports exceed 12,000 hectoliters? So you have to understand whether the 12,000 would be the f of x or the x. The x is your years, because remember, time is always your x value. It's always your independent variable. So the 12,000 would need to be my f of x. And yes, you're going to use it all. Not a big deal. Just be careful with, don't transpose your numbers. All right, let's solve for x. I'm going to subtract from both sides. And what did I get? Not on this page. Okay. Equals. And then divide both sides by the 154. So x equals 54 point, I don't care. Why don't I care? Because it has to do with the year, because it says what year. So I only need the 54. This just tells me it happened in February sometimes. What is the earliest value? My earliest value, I told you, was 1992. That is what I used for 0. So plus 1992. So in 2046, imports exceed 12,000 hectoliters. Here is my answer for that one. Okay, what's next? Using the line of best fit, how many imports would there be in 2026? Okay, so 2026 minus the earliest value, the 1992. I need to know how many years it's been. 34? Yeah. So I'm going to take my function, the f of 34, and I'm going to plug in 154.86999095. Where the x is, I'm going to put 34. And when I multiply these and then add, I get 8867.1. That's all I provided. I only went 1 decimal place. So my answer for this one is in 2026, imports would be 8,867.1 hectoliters. Make sure you provide the correct units. Okay. This is the next question is the answer for D a representation of interpolation or extrapolation, and why? Well, you need to look at a couple different things. One, just looking at 2026 or just looking at the 8867 is not going to tell you whether it's interpolation or extrapolation. You need to look at both. So 8867 is part of the range. It falls in the range grouping as far as it probably hit that at some point during these years. So it would be interpolation. However, 2026 is off the charts. So because of that, that doesn't make sense. My numbers must be wrong. Yeah, my numbers should be wrong. Okay, I can't fix this right now. I'm sorry. I do not have my calculator. Okay, we'll deal with this in class. So right now, off my top of my head, it's going to be extrapolation because it's in 2026. It's not even inside the domain. So 2026, let's just go with that, is not in the domain. So extrapolation. Okay. Bummer. Sorry about that. So let's go look at the next one. Okay. Factor completely. Okay. So we've got 0 equals. Look at the first two, make sure they're in order from highest to lowest. There's 4 terms. So we're going to, well, I've got a couple different options I could do here. I'm going to go ahead and do this. X squared is in common. And that leaves me with x minus 2. And then I don't need to factor out anything here, x minus 2. However, be careful. Because what am I going to factor out now? What I'm going to factor out now is what these two terms have in common. This is a term, this is a term. They both have x minus 2 in common. What am I left with? When I factor x minus 2 from this term, I've got x squared. Plus, there's nothing there. Is it 0? No, because this term wouldn't be here. So it has to be an assumed 1. All right. And then we're going to just continue solving for 0. This cannot be factored any further because it is the sum of 2 squares, not the difference. So I'm just going to take each of these and set them equal to 0. Add 2 to both sides. Subtract 1 from both sides. Oh, pardon me. X squared is equal to -1. Take the square root of both sides, plus or minus the square root of the constant. Plus or minus square root of -1 is I. So those are my factored completely. All right, factor theorem. We're going to find out, is x plus 4 a factor of? Well, this is going to be using some synthetic division. Take the x plus 4, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. Subtract 4 from both sides. X equals -4. That is what you're going to synthetically divide with. Make sure you've got all of your terms, 4, 3, 2, 1 constant. Yep. So I just now need the coefficients of each one. Coefficient is 1, 2, -6, 2, and -24. If x plus 4 is a factor, then the final answer here should not have a remainder. It should be a 0. That's our goal to find out. First thing you do is you bring down the 1. -4 times 1 is -4. Add these two. 2 minus 4 is -2. Multiply. -4 times -2 is 8. -6 plus 8 is 2. -4 times 2 is -8. Plus 2 is -6. Negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 6 is 24. So yes, and you need to answer the question because I'm asking, is it a factor of? Yes, x plus 4 is a factor because the remainder is 0. Oh, one more. All right. Find the remainder when divided by x plus 2. Okay. Well, there's so many different fun things we could do here. All right. Take x plus 2. Set it equal to 0. Solve for x. That is going to be what you're going to divide synthetically with. Make sure all the terms are located. 2, 1, constant. Put the coefficients. Bring down your first term and start the process. -2 times 3 is -6. -3 plus -6 is -9. -2 times -9 is positive 18. Plus 2 is 20. So f of -2 is 20. The remainder is 20. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know.